एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल द सोलफुल डायरी। आज की वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड एंड उनकी पोम रग्बी चैपल के बारे में। पोम को डिस्कस करने से पहले पोएट के बारे में जान लेते कुछ बातें। चलिए पोएट मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड के बारे में डिस्कस करते हैं। मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड was born on 24 December 1822. He was an English poet and cultural critic. He was the son of Thomas Arnold, the headmaster of Rugby School and brother to both Tom Arnold, literary professor, and William Delafield Arnold, novelist and colonial administrator. He has been characterized as a sage writer, a type of writer who chastises and instructs the reader of contemporary social issues. He was also an inspector of schools for 35 years and supported the concept of self state regulated secondary education. He was the eldest son of Thomas Arnold and his wife Mary Penrose Arnold. John Buckland in Lelhem. In 1834, the Arnold occupied a Fox House in the Lake District. There, William Wordsworth was a neighbor and close friend. In 1836, Arnold was sent to Winchester College, but in 1837 he returned to Rugby School. He moved to the sixth form in 1838 and so came under the direct tutelage of his father. He wrote verse for a family magazine and won school prizes. His prize poem, Alaric at Rome, was printed at Rugby. In November 1840, 817, Arnold matriculated at Balliol College, Oxford, where in 1841 he won an open scholarship, graduating BA in 1844. During his student years at Oxford, his friendship became stronger with Arthur Hugh Clarke, a rugby pupil who had been one of his father's favorites. He attended John Henry Newman's sermons at the University Church of St. Mary the Virgin, but did not join the Oxford movement. After his father's death in 1842, Fox House became the family's permanent residence. His poem Cromwell won the 1843 Newdigate Prize. He graduated in the following year with second class honors in literary humanities. In 1845, after a short interlude teaching at Rugby, Arnold was elected Fellow of Oriel College, Oxford in 1847. He became private secretary to Lord Lansdowne, Lord President of the Council in 1849. He published his first book of poetry, The Strayed Reveller, in 1850. Wordsworth died. Arnold published his memorial verses on the older poet in Fraser's magazine. In 1852, Arnold published his second volume of poems, Empedocles on Etna, and other poems. In 1853, he published Poems, a new edition, a selection from two earlier volumes, famously excluding Empedocles on Etna but adding new poems, Sorab and Rustam and the Scholar Gypsy. In 1854, Poems' second series appeared, also a selection. It included the new poem Balder Dead. Arnold was elected Professor of Poetry at Oxford in 1857, and he was the first in this position to deliver his lectures in English rather than in Latin. He was elected in 1862 on translating Homer, and the initial thoughts that Arnold would transform into culture and anarchy were among the fruits of the Oxford lectures. In 1859, he conducted the first of three trips to the continent at the behest of Parliament to study European educational practices. He self published A Popular Education of France, and the introduction to which was later published under the title Democracy. 1865, Arnold published Essays and Criticism, first series, Essays and Criticism, second series would not appear until November 1888, shortly after his death. In 1866, published Thyresis, his elegy to Cloak, who had died in 1861. Culture and Anarchy, Arnold's major work on social criticism and one of the few pieces of his prose work currently in print, was published in 1869. Literature and Dogma, Arnold's major work in religious criticism, appeared in 1873. In 1883 and 84, Arnold toured the United States and Canada, delivering lectures on education, democracy, and Ralph Waldo Emerson. Arnold died suddenly in 1888 of heart failure whilst running to meet a tram that would have taken him to the Liverpool landing stage to see his daughter, who was visiting from the United States where she had moved after marrying an American. His wife died in June 1901. रग्बी चैपल को इन डेप्थ डिस्कस करने से पहले जान लेते हैं उसके कुछ की फीचर्स. दिस पोम इज एन एलेजी written by Matthew Arnold for his father Thomas Arnold. What is an elegy? A poem or a song that expresses sadness, especially for somebody who has died. Matthew Arnold was an English poet and a critic who worked as a school inspector. He was one of the best known poets of the 19th century. In this poem, Matthew Arnold describes the virtues of his father. Through his father, the poet believes that there are great souls in the world who help others. These people are not ordinary people who make life look ugly. They are heroic and good, helpers of mankind. They are the sons of God. They knew the thoughts of God and helped others. As the mankind marches on in this troublesome world, some are tired with thirst and plagues. They are getting divided, they are getting lost in the rocks, they are going to die alone. At such times, angels like his father will appear and help. They are not tired or sad, they give out energy and help mankind complete the journey. They unite everyone. The men feel energetic with new hope and continue till they reach their destination. Stanza 1. Coolly, sadly descends the autumn evening. The fields strewn with its dank yellow drifts of withered leaves, and the elms fade into dimness apace. Silent, hardly a shout from a few boys late at their play. The lights come out in the street, in the schoolroom windows, but cold, solemn, unlightened, austere. Through the gathering darkness arise the chapel walls, in whose bound thou, my father, art led. First stanza describes a somber autumn evening with a focus on chapel where the speaker's father is buried. The poem paints a picture of a cold and autumn evening. The field is covered in yellow leaves and the elm trees are fading into the darkness. The only sounds are the faint shouts of boys playing and the silence that follows. The lights coming on in the street and schoolroom windows contrast with the dark, solemn chapel. The chapel where the speaker's father is led to rest stands out in the darkness, austere and unlit. The poem evokes a sense of loss and grief, with the speaker reflecting on their father's death in the context of the fading natural world. There thou dost lie in the gloom of the autumn evening, but that word gloom to my mind, bring thee back in the light of thy radiant vigor again. In the gloom of November we passed, days not dark at thy side. Seasons impaired not the ray of the buoyant cheerfulness clear. Such thou wast, and I stand in the autumn evening and think of bygone autumns with thee. The speaker is reflecting on the memory of someone, his father, who has passed away like a beloved teacher or mentor from his time at rugby school. The gloom of the autumn evening reminds him of the person's absence, but it also brings back vivid memories of their radiant vigor and buoyant cheerfulness. Even in the darkest times, the person's spirit remained bright and inspiring. The speaker stands in the present, thinking back to past autumns spent with his father, highlighting the lasting impact they had on his life. Stanza 3. 15 years had gone round since the arrows ceased to tread. In the summer morning, the road of death, at a call unforeseen, sudden. For 15 years, we who till then in thy shade roasted as under the boughs of a mighty oak have endured sunshine and rain as we might, bare unshaded alone, lacking the shelter of thee. The poet is telling that it had been 15 years since the death of his father. The speaker marks the passage of 15 years since the father of the poet has passed away. This person is depicted as rising to tread the road of death on a summer morning, highlighting the sudden and unexpected nature of their departure. The deceased is metaphorically compared to mighty oak, under whose shade the speaker and others found comfort and shelter. Their absence leaves those behind exposed and vulnerable, enduring sunshine and rain without the protection they once provided. The poem conveys a sense of enduring grief and loss. The speaker and others have preserved through the challenges and hardships of the past 15 years, but the absence of his father remains a stark reality. Stanza 4. O strong soul, by what shore tarriest thou now? For that force surely has not been left vain. Somewhere, surely afar, in the sounding labour house vast, of being is practised that strength, ceaseless, beneficent, firm. The speaker addresses a strong soul, his father, questioning where it is currently resides. The speaker believes the strength and force of his father's soul have not been wasted. They express confidence that the soul's power is being utilized somewhere far off in the grand scheme of existence, and the speaker describes the strength as zealous, beneficent, firm, suggesting it is characterized by passion, kindness, and determination. The poem can be interpreted as a meditation on the afterlife, with the speaker addressing his father's soul and pondering its continued existence and purpose. Could also be a reflection on the enduring impact of an individual's strength and character even after they are gone. The labor house, vast of being, could represent the universe or the ongoing process of life and creation. Stanza 5. Yet in some far shining sphere, conscious or not of the past, still thou performest the word of the Spirit in whom thou dost live. Prompt and wearied as here, still thou unpraisest with zeal the humble good from the ground, sternly repressed the bad, still like a trumpet tossed rouse those who with half open eyes tread the borderland dim, twixt vice and virtue revivest. Sucrest, this was thy work, this was thy life upon earth. The poet is reflecting on the life and work of his father's soul, now residing in far shining sphere. It speaks of his unwavering commitment to goodness and justice, both in the past and in the new realm. The speaker addresses his father's soul, acknowledging their existence in a celestial realm where or not they remember their past life. The soul is praised for their dedication to upholding the word of the Spirit. They reside in carrying out tasks with same promptness and diligence as they did on earth. The soul is described as a force for good, elevating the humble and suppressing evil. The soul is compared to a trumpet, awakening those who are morally conflicted and guiding them towards virtue. The speaker reaffirms the soul's purpose, emphasizing their work of reviving and supporting others, both in the present and their earthly life. Answer 6. What is the course of the life of mortal men on the earth? Most men eddy about, here and there eat and drink, chatter and love and hate, gather and squander are raised, aloft and are hurled in the dust, striving blindly, achieving nothing, and then they die, perish and no one asks who or what they have been. Moved in he asks what waves in the moonlit solitudes mild of the midmost ocean have swelled, foamed for a moment and gone. This stanza tells about the fleeting nature of human life and the insignificance of individual existence in the grand scheme of things. What is the course of life of mortal men on earth? sets the stage for the poem's contemplation on human existence. The line most men eddy about here and there, eat and drink, chatter and love and hate, gather and squander depict the mundane activities that fill human lives, often without a clear purpose. The phrase are raised aloft, are hurled in the dust signifies the ups and downs of life, the experiences of success and failure that people go through. The line striving blindly, achieving nothing, and then they die, perish, convey a sense of futility and inevitability of death. The closing lines compare the human lives to waves in the ocean that swell and foam for a moment before disappearing, suggesting that individuals are quickly forgotten after their death. Are seven, and there are some whom are thirst, ardent, unquenchable fires, not with a crowd to be spent, not without aim to go ground in an eddy of purposeless dust, effort and meaning and vain. Ah, yes, some of us strive, not without action to die, fruitless but something to snatch from dull oblivion, not all, flood the devouring grave. We have chosen our path to a clear purpose goal, path of advance, but it leads a long, steep journey through sunk, gorgeous over mountains and snow. Cheerful with friends, we set forth. Then on the height comes the storm. Thunder crashes from rock to rock the cataracts reply, lightnings dazzle our eyes, roaring torrents have breached the track the stream bed descends. In the place where the wayfarer once planted his footstep, the spray boils over its borders aloft. Unseen snowbeds dislodge, their hanging ruin, alas, havoc is made in our train. Friends who set forth at our side, falter are lost in the storm. We only are left, with frowning foreheads, with lips. Sternly compressed, we strain on, and at nightfall at last come to the end of our way, to the lonely inn mid the rocks, where the gaunt and taciturn host stands on the threshold, the wind shaking his thin white hairs, pulls his lantern to scan our storm beat figures and ask whom in our party we bring, whom we have left in the snow. Sadly, we answer, we bring only ourselves we lost. Sight of the rest in the storm, hardly ourselves we fought through, stripped without friends as we are, friends, companions, and train the land swept from our sight. It describes a burning desire or passion that drives some individuals. This desire is not to be wasted with the crowd, nor is it aimless. It contrasts the driven group with those who live life of meaningless effort and purposelessness to the aspirations of the driven individuals. They aspire to achieve something meaningful before they die, to leave a mark on the world and avoid being forgotten. They affirm the choices these individuals have made, a path with a clear purpose and goal, and through it is challenging journey. Further, describes a long, steep journey through gorges and snowy mountains. The group begins the journey carefully with friends, but a storm suddenly hits when they reach the heights. The storm is depicted vividly, with thunder crashing, cataracts roaring, and lightning dazzling their eyes. The storm's force is evident in the torrents breaching the path and the stream bed descending where the path once was. The poem highlights the dangers of the journey as the spray from the stream boils over its banks and the unseen snowbeds dislodge their hanging ruins. The word alas indicates a sense of despair, loss, or concern, possibly foreshadowing a tragic event. Further, depicts a challenging journey like a metaphor for life, where the speaker and companions face hardship, havoc is made in our train, friends fall behind, falter, are lost in the storm, leaving the speaker alone to preserve. We only are left. The journey continues despite the challenges with frowning foreheads with lips sternly compressed. We strain on and finally at nightfall the speaker reaches an end, a place of rest or perhaps the end of life. The innkeeper, described as gaunt and taciturn, represents a figure of judgment or finality, examining the speaker's weathered appearance. Storm-beat figures. There, in the stanza, where a group of warriors have survived a storm and an avalanche, are asked about the rest of their party, their response is a somber one, highlighting the harsh realities of their journey and the loss they have suffered. The lines hardly ourselves we fought through, stripped without friends as we are, convey the immense struggle and isolation faced by the warriors. They have lost their companions and are left with a sense of desolation. The avalanche symbolizes the overwhelming power of nature and the vulnerability of human in its face. It serves as a reminder of the unpredictable and often destructive forces that can disrupt lives. Despite the hardships, the warriors' ability to survive and their somber acknowledgement of their losses reflect a sense of resilience and determination. 8. But thou wouldst not alone be saved, my father alone. Conquer and come to thy goal, leaving the rest in the wild. We were weary and we fearful, and we in our march, fain to drop down and to die. Still thou turnest and still beckonest the trembler, and still gavest the weary thy hand. This stanza focuses around the father's figure's compassion and leadership. It portrays him as someone who refused to achieve success alone, instead choosing to guide and support others who were struggling. But thou wouldst not be alone be saved, my father alone conquer and come to thy goal, leaving the rest in a while. These lines emphasize the father's selflessness. He didn't want to succeed in isolation but desired to uplift and bring others along on his journey. We were weary and we were fearful, and we in our march fain to drop down and to die. This portrays the followers' exhaustion and despair. They are on the verge of giving up, highlighting their need for guidance and support. Still thou turnest, and still beckonest the trembler, and still gravest the weary thy hand. This stanza emphasizes the father's continuous support despite the follower's struggle. He consistently offered encouragement, guidance, and a helping hand. Answer 9. If in the paths of the world stones might have wounded thy feet, toil or dejection have tried thy spirit of that we saw, nothing to us thou wait still, cheerful and helpful and firm. Therefore to thee it was given, many to save within thyself, and at the end of thy stay, O faithful shepherd, to come, bringing thy sheep in thy hand. It The stanza reflects on the qualities of the strong and supportive individual like a teacher or a mentor. The speaker acknowledges that life can be challenging and filled with obstacles. Stones might have wounded thy feet, and hardships, toil, or dejection have tried their spirit. Despite these challenges, the subject of the poem remains steadfast and supportive. The nothing to us thou wage, still cheerful and helpful and firm. The subject's strength and resilience allowed them to positively impact and guide others. Therefore, to thee 'twas given many to save with thyself. The speaker expresses hope that the subject, like a faithful shepherd, will find peace and satisfaction at the end of their journey and at the end of thy day, O faithful shepherd, to come, bringing thy sheep in thy hand. 10. And through thee I believe in the noble and great, who are gone, pure souls, honoured and blessed, by former ages who else, such so soulless, so poor, is the race of men whom I see, seemed but a dream of the heart, seemed but a cry of desire. Yes, I believe that there lived others like thee in the past, not like the men of the crowd who all round me today bluster or cringe and make life hideous and arid and vile, but souls tempered with fire, fervent, heroic, and good. helpers and friends of mankind, servants of God or sons. Shall I not call you because not as servants you know, but fathers innermost mind, his who unwillingly sees one of his little ones lost. Yours is the praise, if mankind hath not as yet in its march fainted and fallen and died. Speaker believes in the existence of great individuals in the past because of his father they are addressing. These past figures were pure and honored, and without them, the current generation would be even worse. The speaker finds the current generation lacking in soul and substance. The noble figures of the past would have seemed like a mere dream or a longing if not for the person being addressed. The speaker believes there were others like the person they are addressing in the past, unlike the current crowd who are either aggressive or submissive, making life unpleasant. The poet addresses those with passionate, courageous, and virtuous souls who help humanity and serve God. He wonders if he should call them sons rather than servants. The poet suggests these individuals have a deeper understanding of God's will, unlike servants who merely follow orders. God, as a father, is saddened by the loss of even one of his children. The poet praises these individuals for preventing humanity from faltering and perishing in its journey. Their actions uphold and inspire the human spirit. Stanza 11. See in the rocks of the world marches the host of mankind, a feeble wavering line. Where are they tending a god? Marshal them, gave them their goal. Ah, but the way is so long. Years they have been in the wild, sore thirst plagues them the rocks, rising all round, over ill. Factions divide them, their host threatens to break to dissolve. Ah, keep them combined. Hills of the myriads who fill that army, not one shall arrive. Soul they shall sway in the rocks, stagger for even in vain, die one by one in the waste. Describes humanity as a fragile line marching through the harsh terrain of life guided by a higher power. It highlights the challenges faced by humanity, the long and arduous journey, thirst, overwhelming obstacles, and internal divisions. It emphasizes the importance of unity, suggesting that without it, no one will reach their destination and they will be lost and alone. Stanza 12. Then in such hour of need of your fainting, dispirited race, here like angels appear, radiant with ardor divine, beacons of hope, ye appear. Languor is not in your heart, weakness is not in your word, weariness not on your brow. Ye alight in our van at your voice. Panic, despair flee away, ye move through the ranks recall. The stragglers refresh the outworn, trace re-inspire the brave, water courage return, eyes rekindling and prayers. Follow your steps as you go. You fill up the gaps in a file, strengthen the wavering line, establish, continue our march. On the bound of the waste, on to the city of God. Emphasizes on a time of crisis or struggle, the poor leaders are compared to angels bringing hope and strength. They are seen as sources of light and guidance in dark times. They are depicted as tireless and determined. They lead the way, inspiring others to follow. They actively engage with the people, providing support and encouragement. They acknowledge the courage of others and motivate them to keep fighting. Their presence brings stability and renewed determination. Poetic devices metaphor a figure of speech that compares two unrelated objects based on a shared characteristic. Alliteration a device that draws attention to certain words or phrases, making them stand out or seem appealing. Assonance a device involves repeating certain sounds in nearby words. Enjambment a device that gives a poem the structure of a paragraph that continues on to the next line. The poem is an analogy that uses vivid imagery to describe the virtues of the poet's father. Loss. The poem describes the family's sense of loss after the death of the poet's father, Thomas Arnold, and how they feel alone in his absence. Remembers the poem reflects on the poet's father's virtue and how even in the dark his father's radiance is remembered. Virtues. The poem portrays the poet's father's virtue through a vivid and eulogistic picture. The poem is an elegy written by the 19th century English poet and critic Matthew Arnold. थैंक यू। आई होप आज की वीडियो आपको पसंद है। कैसी लगे हमें कमेंट करके बताएं। और अगर अच्छी लगे तो लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माय चैनल और हमें कमेंट करके बताएं कि आप आने वाली वीडियोस किस टॉपिक पर देखना चाहते हैं। मिलते हैं कल शाम 4 बजे एक और इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियो के साथ।